Hey guys, my name is Mark and this is the Mark Method Podcast. In this podcast, you can be sure that you're going to learn more about what you could be doing to advance yourself in health, strength, and fitness. In today's episode in particular, I'm going to be discussing why you shouldn't give up on 2020. So 2020 has definitely been an interesting year, to say the least, and definitely a year for future history books. So just to kind of like run down some things that have already happened in 2020, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have stepped down as senior royals. Oh no! Yeah, no, that one I've not really. I don't understand people that are like really obsessed with royals. That one's just never really been a thought of mine, but it's news nonetheless. SpongeBob has come out as gay. Good for him. But no, seriously. On a more serious note, so there's been bushfires in Australia again. We had the unfortunate loss of Kobe Bryant and the 8 other passengers that were in the helicopter crash with him, including his daughter. Brexit has finally happened. The death of George Floyd, which has sparked a huge change in the hashtag Black Lives Matter movement, as well as sparking rage in the those opposing the movement, I should say. We've had conspiracy theories all over the place, everywhere, as to what people think is going on right now. And I won't lie, it's actually been kind of interesting, but there's some conspiracy theories that I think have been a little bit, I don't know, people are taking them too seriously, I think. And then obviously let's not forget the coronavirus, COVID-19, and everything that has effectively come with it. So just to kind of like give you a little breakdown as to what's come with it, we've had 8 million confirmed COVID contraction cases, 446,000 lives globally tragically being lost, stockpiling, panic buying, masks having to be worn, in some cases it being mandatory, so things like public transport now, schools being forced to shut, businesses being forced to shut, and in some cases unfortunately going out of business because they've not been able to keep going in these crazy times, people being forced to stay in their homes in a lockdown, and obviously coming with that, not being able to see friends, family, loved ones, pollution plummeting to the lowest it has been in years, but at the same time, the moment lockdown started getting lifted, it going right back up there again, and my biggest pet peeve, litter on beaches, look, litter anywhere. Oh, so annoying. Sports events, from football to the Olympics being postponed, but obviously now football's been allowed back on to you sports fans out there. The UK government alone being billions of pounds in debt, even more so to what they were before. And then, yeah, let's not forget the one that I know has affected a lot of people within this industry, gyms being forced to close. But obviously the more recent news, I suppose we should say, is obviously with lockdown gradually being lifted, pubs and restaurants being able to open sooner than gyms. Now this one I think is obviously ridiculous for many reasons. So we've got restaurants is contributing to the obesity problem that the UK alone is having. And obviously that being prioritized over the gym is mental. And then we've got pubs. So alcohol is a depressant. And obviously, like in extreme cases, we've got obesity as well as, becoming an alcoholic. So obviously they are the more extreme ends of it being a bad situation. But like, I don't know, there was so much hype on the 25th, which is the date of this podcast being released. There was so much hype on gyms opening the same time, and I think it would have made a lot more sense if gyms had been allowed to open at the same time, if not before, because what this does is this makes everyone think that the government says, well, pubs and restaurants are more important than your health. Or how much the pubs and restaurants are bringing in terms of financial like gain, so taxes and income and all that kind of shit. That's more important than people's health and well-being. So of course, if they open gyms alongside that, then yeah, it's all right, you've got your financial gain, but you're also prioritizing people's health as well, because you're allowing them that option. Because yes, you don't necessarily need a gym to exercise, but it does bloody help. So yeah, that has been just a mad one. So basically, to sum up what I've just said, what a time it's been. It has been absolutely crazy. And one thing that I've started to notice is, like, people are starting to now think of 2020 as, all right, it's over now, I'm done, and they're wanting to say, bring on 2021, can we forget 2020 please? Why won't this year just end already? And people are wishing the year away. Now, I think the biggest issue with 2020, like, obviously, with all the points and everything, but there was a lot of hype going into it, because obviously when people say, like, New Year, New Me, it happens every single year, and typically it doesn't really mean much. Most people don't stick to their New Year's resolutions. From what I've seen data-wise, I think 5% of people that make New Year's resolutions, like, actually stick to them, which is a very small percentage, but still obviously helpful nonetheless. But obviously with it being 2020, a new decade, I think everyone was like, right, this is going to be a great start to the new decade. And because there was so much hype behind it, the moment a spanner got thrown in the works, it just made everything fall apart. And then obviously you had spanner after spanner after spanner, and yeah, now people are, like, wishing the year away. Now, people, we need to wake up. It's not even July yet, which means, like, let's say if we assume you're listening to this on the 1st of July, we're 7 months into the year, which means we still have another 5 months to add our input into 2020. It's not over. Now, I said at the start of the podcast that 2020 has definitely been one for the future history books. Now, how can you leave your mark on 2020? Because, like, if you think about it, if 2020 has had so much happen in such a small space of time and is going to be remembered in history, you're going to want to do something that you remember that's positive about 2020. Allow me to give a few examples. So you could be like, 2020, that is the year, against all odds in what was happening, I started my fat loss journey and I lost X amount of weight. That's the year, against all odds in what was happening, I moved house and blah blah blah. I started a business. Shout out to Mace Muscles, you guys have been amazing. I kept my business going. I took my business I already had online completely. I learned a new skill / hobby, and now it's my new passion. I started a course. Shout out to my nutrition course that I've just started. I learned that I didn't like my job and I needed to move on. I decided I needed change in my life in some way, shape or form, and I done something about it. And one thing that I've found is, over the past 12 weeks of lockdown, the clients of mine that have decided to continue with PT virtually, like through video call, or have training plans or things like that, they've had an extra 12 weeks to work on their weaker points or things that they might not have prioritized previously. And one of my clients has lost 3 stone. That's insane. So to completely throw in the towel and say, no, I give up, we've still got so much opportunity and time with us. I'm pretty sure I said on a previous podcast episode, when lockdown was happening, that we've got 1,440 minutes in a day, effectively. And each minute is so valuable. If I just sat here, like, for a minute completely silent, it feels like forever when I don't speak, because time is valuable and you don't want me to feel like I'm wasting your time. I really hope people didn't click off the podcast at that point thinking, oh God, he's actually going to wait for a minute. People that know me know that I'm quite literal, and yeah, I wouldn't be literal in that sense. But it's like when people get towards the end of the year and start thinking about New Year's resolutions that they're going to start, like, sometimes it's weeks, but sometimes it's even months. People start thinking, well, it's not the new year yet, so I've still got time to just chill out and not start it. But now is always the best time to change. Waiting never solves anything. It never helps with what you want to do. And even starting in the sense of you're preparing for the thing that you want to change, that's a start. That's still going to help. But yeah, when the coronavirus started popping up in the UK, a time where measures were starting to be put in place, furlough was an option for those that were employed. But those self-employed at this point had no option. Now, I felt pretty confident in myself. I can't lie. Like, the Mark Method is a limited company, and I am employed by it. But then, I found out as a sole director with no other employees, I technically wouldn't be eligible. Great, I know. So I was like, okay, that's cool. And around about that time that I found out, they just released another option for the self-employed, saying, yep, we've got you self-employed folk. Nope. I'm not self-employed. I'm a limited company. You're a businessman. You can't have that either. So what options did I have? Make it work or your business fails. And there is, oh God, like having no other option other than to make something work is a hell of a motivator, I'll tell you. Like, oh, it has been crazy, it's been emotional, it's just been mad. And although the whole pandemic situation has been tough to deal with and caused multiple issues, I've noticed like it's been a very good teacher. It's been very beneficial for me and my business to kind of go through this. So it's taught me that I've had a few holes in my business. It's taught me how I can become a more effective communicator. Opportunities that I might not have taken previously, I've decided to take, aka the nutrition course that I'm doing. I was very much on the fence about the nutrition course. But yeah, the opportunity came up. It was a really good one, and I couldn't not take it. And yeah, like I've got a bit more clarity on where I want my business to head and how I'm going to take it there. I've listened to audiobooks and podcasts to help educate myself more on the business side of things as well as the coaching side of things. And all of this is to obviously help my clients and my customers and all that when we come out of lockdown, and even during lockdown, to be fair. I've learned so much. It's just basically been, for me, time that I can spend on upgrading the Mark Method and be better and more effective at business, as well as obviously coaching. Now, obviously, this entire podcast probably sounds a little over-dramatic, but 2020 really has shaken up the world. Like, what we thought was normal back in 2019 will not be the new normal. I'm a big believer in this change has happened and we're not going to be able to go back to what was normal before. We're going to have and adopt a new normal because, I mean, even like, for instance, there's been people that are like having to work from home, like 9 till 5 and stuff. There are some people that absolutely love it, and there's some people that really don't. And then there's even businesses that are saying, do you know what? If you can work from home, that is now your permanent position. You are no longer going to need to come into the office. You can work from home indefinitely. And that opportunity obviously might not have been there unless this pandemic happened. Now, just to sum everything up, if 2020 is going to be a year for the history books, how are you going to leave your mark on it? What are you going to do about it now? And how will you remember 2020 in more of a positive way? Now, I hope you like this kind of episode, this podcast episode. I've tried to keep it a little bit shorter than previous episodes, and I don't really like to try and be motivational, but there are certain like subjects that I just want to talk about it, and once I start planning the points that I want to cover, it's kind of like it just becomes a bit motivational. But yeah, if you have any further questions or want to get in touch, just Google the Mark Method and get in contact on the platform of your preference. Thank you so much again for listening, guys. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and tune in next time. Take care and do not give up on 2020.